Well, hello, it's Dutchguy back with another tutorial video. Today I'm showing you how to use and set up FreeTrack. The difference between FreeTrack and FaceTrackNoIR is FreeTrack uses a customized webcam which can only see infrared light sources, in which FaceTrackNoIR uses your face as your tracking source, so it just tracks your face's movement. The good thing about FreeTrack is it's using those free LED sources, so the calculation to track your face is a lot less heavy on your CPU. Another thing, it's a lot more stable. It's almost as good as TrackIR, the expensive face tracking or the expensive face tracking system. So how do you set up your FreeTrack? Well, it's quite easy. I got myself this webcam which I found laying around at my parents' place, and all I need to do is all you need to do is remove the infrared filter which is inside of your webcam, which filters out the infrared light. Then there's a second thing you need to do. You need to add in an infrared filter, but this filter will only filter out everything except for the infrared light. So basically all this thing can see is infrared light. It's quite easy for this webcam. Keep in mind it's always different for different webcams, so there will be a link in the description to the FreeTrack website, which has a full list of lots of webcams which can be used for this sort of system, which webcams can't. But this webcam is quite easy. You have this thing right here. I've already put a IR filter in this to filter out everything except for the infrared light. But what you actually need to do, you can probably see this. Yeah, you see this right here. That is your lens, and you can just unscrew that with a multi-tool. So let me unscrew this for you. Almost there. So there we go. We have our lens and our webcam, and this is the lens for the webcam. And inside of this little thing right here, you will find, I have already took it out by the way, you will find a small lens which has a sort of pink bluish color, and that is your infrared filter which filters out all of the infrared light. So what I did, you can actually use your multi-tool to just unscrew it, but this one is tightened so much in the factory that I can't do it that way. So I had to take a set of screwdrivers and just jam it in there and just pry it out. And that kind of works. I don't recommend doing that if you want to use the webcam later as a webcam. But without the IR filter it will still actually work, but you will have too much brightness in your screen or in your picture. So after you've taken out the IR filter, which is in here, by prying it out, you just put it back into your webcam and just screw it back in. So let me do this for a sec. Okay, that's tight enough. So second thing you need is an IR filter which filters out everything except for the infrared light. So there's a lot of different filters you can use for that. You can buy them at Home Depots or do-it-yourself shops. They tend to have infrared filters. I have no idea what they actually use them for, but I digress. So what I used is this old fella. If you know what this is a floppy disk. This used to be used for storage, so if your parents had... So if you already had an old PC in the early days of the PC, you will probably have one of these things laying around somewhere and being useless. So what you actually want to do, you want to just break it open and take out the actual disk which is inside of that, which will look kind of like this, but then round, because I already cut this one up for the filter. So you will have your filter. You can just cut it out of here, and then you can just duct tape it over your webcam. What I actually did, I just put it into this little piece right here, which will just fit on top of this right here, if you would give me a sec. Come on, there we go. So now my webcam for FreeTrack is ready to go, and all I will need now is the software and a track clip. And you can build yourself track clips. There's a lot of tutorials on how to do that by just welding yourself a small track clip together. But what I just did, I just bought for like 20 euros a track clip by Natural Point. And you can actually see that my webcam's infrared filter isn't really that good, because in real life or outside of the video you can't really see these lights, but because my filter in my webcam isn't really that good, you can still actually see that it is picking up the infrared light. So all you will see in this webcam right here is these 3 lights, and I can just attach this with a clip to my headset. Please note, this thing is very, very, very fragile. In other words, I broke mine and I had to duct tape it together to make it work. But that aside, it's a easy alternative if you just want to spend the extra buck on a track clip. So that's pretty much all the hardware which you need. I also put some double-sided tape on my come on, stop freezing, on my webcam, my infrared webcam, to make sure it will just stick to my screen. So let's move to the software part of this tutorial. So what you need to do right now, after you've set up your hardware, you're gonna download the drivers for your webcam and install them. And for a lot of webcams you have to go to the options and then turn off your automatic lighting and your automatic white balance, and make sure it's running at the highest frames per second possible. If you don't turn off your automatic lighting and white balance, your frames per second will go down, and the lighting will just make everything very bright and make it very hard to calibrate everything. So after you've done that, you will have to download some software. What I'm using is the FaceTrackNoIR software, which you can download from FaceTrackNoIR.sourceforge.net. Link for that, of course, will be in the description. So after you've downloaded that software, you will just install it and then start it up, like I've already done. After you've started it up, you will see this screen. The reason I'm using FaceTrackNoIR over FreeTrack is simply because I was using FaceTrackNoIR before I had FreeTrack, and I was too lazy to learn how to use the FreeTrack software, so I kind of used this. It's not really too difficult to set up. It does take a long time to fine-tune it, so I'm not gonna be very precise because I've already set up a proper setup, to put it that way. So what you want to do is go to a default INI, well, in my case to a default INI, so I can set it up, and then you're going to select for tracker source the point tracker 1.0, and for the filter you're going to select the Accela filter Mark II. The game protocol is going to be FreeTrack 2.0, and then we're gonna start this baby up. As you can see right now, it will show me my 3 different points, of which it's gonna be tracking. These points being the LEDs on my track clip. You can fine-tune this stuff by going to your settings, under the settings for your tracker source, and then you're gonna go to the model. For the model you'll need to set up specific dimensions. The default is different, but I'm using a track clip from Natural Point, which has some default dimensions, which is, if I recall correctly, 29 by 41 by 60 by 73, top to bottom. Let me just check that, because I've actually looked it up on the interwebs. And There's a lot of different sizes apparently, so this one is saying 29, 41, 60, 73. Is that correct? Yep, that's correct. You can actually have some margin within this, but if you're more precise, it's more precise in this tracking system. So after you've done that, you're gonna make sure your threshold is set properly. I'm using minimal diameter pixel is 2, and maximum diameter pixel is 50. You can actually fiddle around with this to your preference. So let's say your dots are very big, but you also have some other light sources in the background which might distract. You can actually make the minimal diameter a lot bigger and the maximum diameter a lot smaller, so it will be more precise for your tracking sources. But for me it is very easy because I only have these 3 LEDs. Sometimes it does duplicate a little, so you actually have to fiddle around with this. I just have the threshold around here, and then I'm just gonna click OK. So after you've done fiddling around with the tracker source settings, you actually have to go to the curves. And if you go to the curves, you can actually see what is going on by just turning your head, and you will see the dots move, that sort of stuff. So first we're just gonna look forward and press, well, in my case home. I've set a button for that to zero it in. So now I can just look around for a little bit, look up and down, and see what it is like. So first of all, I'm noticing that I'm rolling a little bit, so I'm just gonna put my 0 for rolling a little bit down there. And now we're just gonna roll our heads. This is our maximum roll capacity, so we're just gonna click this away. Input degree for that, output degree for that, so let's put it about here. So I'm gonna roll, it's about correct. It's never gonna be as precise as the TrackIR itself. I'm just gonna, there we go. It's good enough, it's not great. I'm probably gonna turn it down a little bit more. This is something you totally have to set up for yourself because it's all personal preferences. Some people like it a lot, some people like a little bit of input, and I just like it like this. So I'm also gonna put a slight dead zone on my yaw, and I'm gonna make sure I don't have to break my neck, so I'm gonna put my yaw like this. About 20 degrees input, large output, fantastic. Pitch down, okay, I'm just gonna look down for a sec, so it is kind of inverted, which doesn't really matter, but I'm just gonna change it up like this. For the output a little bit more, so let's say 120, so if I look down, I actually look down quite far. If I look up, just gonna make sure this is my maximum output degree, so I'm just gonna put a little bit less, 80 degree looking up. So now I've done that, I'm just gonna zero it in. So if I look up, I don't have any sort of dead zone here, so a little bit of dead zone here and a little bit of dead zone right here. So center, look down, look up, almost perfect. Look left, look right. This is something you will have to fiddle about with, just as the threshold settings. Okay, is my z-axis is correct. If I lean to the left, that's correct. If I look, if I go up, I'm just gonna put that a little bit lower because I can't go up too far because else my thing goes outside of the picture. So it kind of works. I'm not really using the y-axis except for looking at over stuff, so that doesn't really matter. So that is pretty much set. For some things you do need to download a tier views DLL. You can download that by downloading the TrackIR software for the TrackIR 5 and then just stealing the DLL from the folder, from the TrackIR folder. I will link my video for FaceTrackNoIR in which it is shown to how to do that right about now. probably already from this point I started saying something like this. So that's pretty much done. Smoothing. So smoothing, if you put your smoothing very high, it will make it so that it is very smooth, to put it like that. But there will be a lot of delay on your input. So I tend to have it about lower than 5 most of the time. Most of the time just on 1, because it is tracking the dots. It's tracking LED sources. So it doesn't really matter how smooth it is, because those LEDs are very stable. At least as stable as my head. So you can also fiddle around with that to personal preferences. So let's say stop. For the second tracker source we don't need anything because there's no use to it. So after we set it up like this, we just need to figure out what we need to invert and what we don't need to invert. And then we can just play War Thunder. So, after setting up and building a FreeTrack system, we can finally check out the results of our work. But before I'm gonna start up a test flight mission, I want to point out this little button in the top left corner right here, because I've gotten a lot of complaints about waiting times in full real battles and that it is just insane. Since the latest patch they put in the events mode, and a lot of people who play full real battles also like to play the events mode. And I especially like it because if you click events, the waiting time for events is significantly smaller versus the waiting time for the to battle button. So if people are still complaining about waiting times, try the events mode. It's a lot of fun because you fly historical correct aircraft in historical correct battles. So that makes it a double full real battle sandwich. If you know what I'm saying. So let's move to a test flight. Okay, so we're in. Let's center our stuff. Okay, let's look around. Look how fast that is. I can look around so quickly. It's fantastic. So let's start this baby up. Put the elevator up a little bit. What was it again? Positive rudder, I'm not sure. Okay, elevator about 7%, 10%, let's move it. I just want to fly this now. So I can also pop over, so see the runway a little bit better. I can lean to the side with this thing. That's all the stuff which you can't really do with the FaceTrackNoIR software, because if you do that it tends to offset a lot. So I can now actually pop over, see my runway, lean to the left, lean to the right, check over my shoulder by leaning to the side even more, that sort of stuff. So let's take this baby off. By the way, right now I'm actually using my joystick, which I'm showing off for the first time in one of my videos. But if you've been watching my live streams from time to time, yes, I do live stream rarely, but I tend to do it. Then you would already have seen my joystick. So let's move to the left, so I can look behind me, that sort of stuff. I really love this system. It's comparable to FreeTrack.IR. That sort of stuff. I love it. So I can actually look around now. That sort of stuff. I love this. That's all I can say about this. I love it. So let's put the elevator a little bit down. Okay, there we go. Just checking everything. So now I can actually. I don't have to press any buttons. I can just use my head to zoom in and look around for targets. And I can see the target in the field right there. It's in the middle of my screen right now. And I can just track it and follow it. I can just use my head instead of having to use my mouse or some button to zoom in. That's all the advantages you have with FreeTrack. That, and it's really, really cheap. So let's take a look. It's not really in range yet. To bring down my throttle a little bit, there's no need for that. I really need to turn down my elevator. Well, let's do it. Is it destroyed? I can look behind me now. Yay, it's dead. That sort of stuff. I love this. So that's pretty much the tutorial for FreeTrack. I was gonna say FaceTrackNoIR, but it's FreeTrack. And I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I hope it was useful to you. So if you like this sort of content, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of this stuff, and that's about it. I'll catch you next time.